Hello and welcome to the 22nd installment of Menace in the Goldilocks Zone, or chapter 22. If you recall, last chapter, our plucky band of explorers just barely escaped from Kryptos, although they did acquire the long-sought artifacts. But they only escaped Kryptos to confront another danger. So, as we left them last time, it takes two to operate that weapon, Forged M observes. Who's coming with me? I'll come. Peregrine, Roger, and Broadtrunk all speak at once. No, Admiral, Forged M replies. We need your diplomatic skills to deal with the Iredians. But it's my plan, Roger protests. Captain is right, Broadtrunk asserts. We need Admiral on the Rodvine. Peregrine? Roger looks at her in appeal. Sorry, my dear, but you were outvoted. I see. Well, Burrowson, looks like you and I will coordinate things from here. Yes, sir. Chapter 22. Steep Odds. Roger wishes he could pace in the Rodvine's cockpit, but because it is in 0G, that would be dangerous. He looks anxiously between the long-range view screen where the Xenosian armada grows ever larger and the cockpit viewport. Why haven't they left yet? He asks impatiently. Still topping off the fuel, Burrowson reports. They should be ready at any moment. Well, I hope they're using the time to charge the weapon, Roger remarks irritably. They're asking us to open the hold doors, Nourdam, who now occupies the co-pilot's seat, reports. Hold doors open, Burrowson states. Freighter away, Nourdam adds after a short time. Roger stares out the viewport and sees the freighter moving off toward the closing Xenosians. Hey, he says, they're supposed to be running dark. Oh, there they go. Well, I can't see them now, Burrowson reports. I hope the Xenosians can't. So do I, Roger agrees, though not feeling very good about the fact that he can still see the freighter. All right, Burrowson. Now that they're away, set the course to follow them, but at a distance. Yes, sir. Roger watches out the viewport as the globe of Kryptos moves out of sight and they look out into stars. He adjusts the long-range view screen to bring the armada back into frame. The raiders appear larger, and Roger hopes he is imagining that there are even more of them. I ought to be able to see them by myself by now, he remarks to no one in particular. He looks out the viewport and realizes he can. The next hour is tense with apprehension as the Xenosian raiders become visible even to the Mare Urbans. The freighter has pulled far enough away that not even Roger can see it. He checks the raider armada again. Perhaps we should go dark as well, Burrowson, Roger suggests. I see nothing good in the Xenosians spotting us. Yes, sir. Good point, sir. Except for the long-range view screen, the cockpit goes dark. The stars and the raiders appear brighter. Roger finds himself wondering how close the weapon needs to be effective, how close Forged M will dare to get, and whether there's any overlap between the two. They were 400 meters from the vessel they disabled on Kryptos, which at the velocity the raiders are traveling is virtually on top of them. He scans the rest of the view from the cockpit. Where are those Iredians, he wonders aloud. They'd still be a half hour off, Burrowson reminds him. Yes, but I should be able to see them by now, Roger insists. They pass several more minutes in silence, eyes straining to see any change in the Xenosian formation. Roger's just changing his view from the long-distance screen to the viewport when he spots a pale blue flash of light. He stares for a moment, but can see nothing else. He checks the view screen. Several of the lead and secondary raiders appear to have lost power and are adrift, colliding with others in the formation. Other raiders, apparently trying to avoid collisions, are colliding with each other, they themselves becoming hazards. It is a chain reaction through the formation, but as a fraction of the total force it is small. Roger watches tensely to see if any raiders break off to pursue their attacker. None do. The formation moves on relentlessly, leaving the stricken vessels in its wake. Roger again looks around to see if any help is imminent, and can just make out 6 faint points of light, closing fast. 6 against 500, Roger notes grimly. This will be ugly. That's 7 against 500, sir, Naurdam corrects him. Oh, that's much better odds, Roger rejoins dryly. Roger spots another pale blue flash of light, and once again several of the raiders go adrift and wreak havoc on the formation. And once again the Xenosians push relentlessly on without investigating. Can they really believe that they are not under attack? Roger asks rhetorically. Do they think that these are just malfunctions? Perhaps they are simply intent on the base, Burleson suggests. They must have intelligence that the base is undefended, and they want to get there before defenses do. Perhaps, Roger muses. Still, it would seem they could spare a few vessels to deal with that harassment. Well, I for one am glad they don't, Naurdam announces. As am I, Roger assures her. It just puzzles me. Another blue flash of light heralds another disruption in the formation, just as the 6 Aredian scouts arrive and fly headlong at the armada. Several points of white light emerge from the scouts, causing blinding white explosions among the raiders. The remaining raiders at the head of the formation return fire, which the scouts expertly evade before diving right into the midst of the raiders, firing weapons as they go. Are they insane? Burleson exclaims as he watches. No, Naurdam answers calmly. They're smart. They're flying among the raiders so that any defensive fire has a chance of hitting another raider. The tactic appears to work, as several raiders are destroyed by one of their fellows. The tactic, however, does not leave the scouts unscathed. One collides with a chunk of debris and goes spinning out of control away from the battle. Another suffers a direct hit and is destroyed outright. Roger tracks the damaged scout, and when it appears to be stricken, asks, "How much fuel is in the shuttle?" "About half capacity," Naurdam answers. "Why? Is that enough to get out to that scout and back?" "More than enough," Naurdam replies. "Mr. Burleson, with your permission?" Burleson looks from Roger to Naurdam. "All right," he says finally. "Just get back here in one piece." "You might try to raise that scout," Roger suggests, "just to let them know we're coming." He follows Naurdam to the shuttle. "Buckle up, Mr. Roger," the third officer advises. "It's going to be a rough ride." The shuttle shudders as the docking bolts are released, and Naurdam fires thrusters at full and streaks toward the battle and the drifting, pitching scout. It is not long before they encounter debris, and Naurdam desperately weaves among the wreckage to get the stricken Aredians. She makes a rapid pass of the scout and turns back to align the shuttle with the other vessel. "We're going to have to match that pitch if we're going to dock," she notes grimly. She makes another pass and return, this time slowly, and fires thrusters to begin a slow pitch in parallel with the scout. "There's the airlock door," Roger points as they get alongside. "Yes, I see it," Naurdam acknowledges. "Docking in 3, 2, 1. A violent shudder goes through the shuttle. "Docking failed," Naurdam sighs. She accelerates to circle the scout again for another approach. I didn't account for their slight roll. She brings the shuttle up to the scout again. Docking in 3, 2, 1. There's a solid jolt as the shuttle and scout roll and pitch as one. Roger unbuckles his restraints and moves to the airlock door. He checks the indicators and sees that the scout has atmosphere, but pressure is dropping rapidly. He opens the airlock to find 3 short Aredians at the airlock. Come aboard, Roger urges them. "Do you have any injured?" "I have a minor burn," the Aredian who appears to be in charge replies. but Commander Watch is dead. I'm so sorry to hear that, Roger responds. I am Admiral Roger of the Cerulean Dread Patrol. At this, the Iridian drew himself to his full 1 meter height and saluted, colorful crest raised. Now's not the time for such ceremony, Mr. First Gunner Clutch, sir. Well, First Gunner, get you and your crew secure, and we will get you back to our vessel for medical care. Roger watches as the 3 Iridians get buckled in. All secure and ready to depart, he reports to Nauerdam, releasing the docking bolts in 3, 2, 1. Another shudder goes through the vessel as it pulls away from the damaged scout. It seems there's even more debris to evade on the return trip, and Roger's goggles report some intense muttering from his pilot. It's a good thing we're so small, Nauerdam says as they dock with the Rotvine, or we'd be in pieces ourselves. Forwardson meets them at the airlock door and is visibly surprised at the appearance of the miniature Iridians. Mr. Burleson says around 30 Iridian fighters have arrived, he finally reports once he's collected himself. Some have already been damaged and are issuing distress calls. Show these gentlemen to a cabin, if you will, Forwardson, Roger replies before turning to Nauerdam. What do you say, second officer? Nauerdam returns to her seat and buckles in. In for a decagram, in for a kilo, she replies, checking the fuel supply. I have no idea what that means, Roger admits, buckling himself back in, but that's my sentiments exactly. They enter the debris field once more, looking for disabled fighters. They pass several drifting raiders, the results of Peregrine's work from the freighter. Do you think we ought to try to rescue the Xenosian crews? Roger wonders aloud as they pass the 3rd raider. Oh, I'm sure they'd welcome our help, Nauerdam replies wryly. Then they would probably kill us both, commandeer our vessel, and rejoin the fight. Do you really think so? Roger asks incredulously. In the 50-year history of Xenosian raiding, no one has seen a Xenosian and lived, Nauerdam reports grimly. The Xenosians don't take prisoners, and they won't be taken as prisoners. I see, Roger responds. I guess we'll let the Iridians handle that aspect of things. Speaking of, Nauerdam asks, do you see any of those disabled fighters? The debris field is thinning, and there's no sign of Iridian vessels, disabled or otherwise. Well, the battle has moved on, Roger observes. I guess we'd better follow the fleet. They return to the debris field and follow the wreckage. Nauerdam's skills are tested once again, and it is she who spots the damaged fighter. There, she says with some relief, just past that drifting raider. Roger looks in the direction she indicates and sees a vessel that resembles 2 larger needle-like scouting vessels joined at the midsection. Half the starboard needle is missing. Nauerdam circles to the port side to search for an airlock hatch. They see one mid-length. She circles again to make a slow approach while matching the vessel's even slower roll. The docking bolts hit home on the first try. You're good at this, Roger remarks as he unbuckles his restraints to go to the hatch. The airlock opens to a cloud of smoke and half a dozen coughing male Iridians who tumble into the shuttle. Roger helps them in and calls into the fighter. Is anyone else there? While he has no lungs for the smoke to burn, some of it was getting behind his goggles and burning his eyes. He turns to the coughing Iridians. Is there anyone else on board? No, one croaks. No one alive. Roger closes the airlock and helps the Iridians secure themselves in the seats. All are coughing, some are delirious, one is barely conscious. Brood has been hit, the croaking one says. They're losing atmosphere. Where is Brood? Roger asks. Out there, the Iridian gestures vaguely. All right, Roger says, strapping him in. Then to Nauerdam. Let's get back to the Rotvine, but keep a lookout for another fighter. Nauerdam releases the docking bolts and expertly rolls the shuttle off the damaged fighter. The debris field is dense here, and Nauerdam's eyes are locked on the viewport. Roger watches tensely as they avoid one collision after another. Finally, as the debris seems to thin, Roger spots another drifting fighter. That must be Brood, he remarks. Time for another stop. This one is pitching and rolling, and it takes Nauerdam 2 tries to get it right, but only 2 tries. Roger opens the airlock to be greeted by 8 short Iridians, 2 of which are being carried by their fellows. These Roger has strapped to the cargo platforms. The others take up secure positions as they can. To the Rotvine, if you please, Roger requests. We're filled up. In the passenger hold, perhaps, she replies grimly, not so much in the fuel tank. This is going to be close. We can refuel once we get back, Roger assures her. Yes, she agrees, but we have to get back first. Though the debris field is lighter on this return trip, it is still a tense one as Nourdam eyes both the fuel gauge and the viewport. Roger involuntarily flinches every time Nourdam fires a thruster to avoid a piece of a destroyed vessel. His goggles report a high-pitched repeating alarm and sees a light flashing on the pilot's console. Surely this has a reserve fuel supply, Roger speculates. I'm counting on it, Nourdam replies grimly. It seems an eternity, but the Rotvine finally comes into view and Roger relaxes. Even if they can't make it to the Rotvine, now the Rotvine can make it to them. Nourdam steers the shuttle up to the docking port. It is only when she hears the sounds of the docking bolts locking true does she slump in her seat. That was a lot less fun than it should have been, she observes wryly. Roger ushers the Iredians off the shuttle. How long to refuel? He asks Nourdam. About 30 minutes, she replies. I'll go check in with Burrowson. He steps through the airlock and sees Fordson directing Iredians into cabins. Get them nectar gel and water if you would please, Fordson. How's Larderson, by the way? Still unconscious, the last time I checked. Gatherdam hasn't left him for even a minute. Roger steps quietly into Gatherdam's cabin. How is he doing? He asks her. He woke up a few minutes ago, saying his head hurt, she answers softly. I gave him some nectar wine and he went back to sleep. I hope that was the right thing to do. Oh, I'm sure it was. Will we be at the base soon? The question takes Roger aback. Of course, she had no idea what was going on. We've encountered some delays, he says finally. We're getting there as fast as we can. With that, he leaves her before she can ask more questions. Up in the cockpit, he greets Burrowson. What news, First Officer? That fighter wing has taken quite the beating, he responds, but the recalled base fighters should be here any minute. Any sign of the captain and the others? We saw plenty examples of their handiwork, Roger replies, but no sign of the freighter itself. Same here, Burrowson says solemnly. They've probably followed the Xenosian fleet. As we should, Roger suggests, but at a safe distance. Just follow the wreckage. Yes, sir. Roger leaves the cockpit for the shuttle and encounters an Iredian who greets him with the full cross-thorax salute and raised crest. Admiral Roger? Yes, Wing Commander Brood, sir. How goes the battle? Judging from the wreckage, very vigorously, Roger replies wryly. Wing Commander, shouldn't you be in a cruiser? I left my first officer in command of the cruiser, sir, which, along with a few fighters, is guarding the supply convoy. I knew the odds were steep, he says with difficulty. Could not ask my command to face them without me. Well, your command has shown great courage, Roger assures him, but as you say, the odds are steep. I am told recalled fighters from the base will be joining us shortly. That is good news. Will you be going back out to rescue our crews? That is the plan. May I accompany you? If you wish. But don't you want to stay here and organize your people? Many of my people trained as medicos before becoming fighter crew, Brood replies. They are organizing themselves. Very well. Come with me. The two go through the airlock into the shuttle. Nearly fueled, Nourdam announces as Roger steps aboard. Oh, she says, spotting Brood. Hello again. This is Wing Commander Brood, Roger informs her. He wishes to accompany us. I see, Nourdam replies. Well, get yourselves buckled in. We'll be leaving shortly. Roger passes the instruction along to Brood, and the two comply. How many fighters are in the base contingent? Roger asks, by way of making conversation. 300, Brood replies, and a cruiser, of course. Well, they should be able to mop up the rest of this mess, Roger observes. Yes, Brood agrees. if they get back in time. The shuttle shudders as the docking bolts release, and Nourdam steers the craft back into the debris field in search of wounded fighters. It's odd that so many raiders seem to have simply lost power, Brood remarks as they pass a drifting raider. This one, for example, appears otherwise undamaged. Yes, Roger agrees. It is odd. With direction from Brosen on the Rotvine, they are able to make their way to several damaged Iridian fighters, whose crews are visibly relieved to be greeted by their wing commander. They are about to make their way back when they receive word of another vessel in distress, wounded crew losing atmosphere. There's not a lot of room left, Roger observes doubtfully when Nourdam informs him. He relays the information to Brood, who replies, "We'll make room for them." This fighter is much closer to the active fighting, and Nourdam finds it impossible to avoid every fragment of debris, and they all wince with every loud impact. They spot the fighter, which is indeed heavily damaged, as both sides appear to be missing pieces of the hull. Nourdam is able to dock with the port side. The airlock opens once again to smoke and choking Iridians, but this time they are in the female 2-meter variety. They tumble into the shuttle, gasping and pleading for help, from whom they evidently take to be medicos. Their male comrades, some of whom some of whom are wounded themselves, make no effort to correct the misimpression and offer what comfort they can. This last group is especially bad, Roger tells Nourdam. We need to get back to the Rotvine fast. This junk will not make that easy, she replies. I'm going to try to get away from this stuff before heading back. I'm sure you'll do the best you can, Roger says encouragingly. Excuse me, frog in my throat. He turns his attention to the crowded hold. 3 of the most badly injured female Iridians were laid out across the laps of their male comrades as they sit in the seats. Back in the cargo hold, he sees similar arrangements as the half-size warriors sit on the floor, cradling the heads of the most wounded in their laps. Brood turns to him. One has already died, he informs Roger, with a great deal of obvious effort at controlling his voice. The others are just as bad. I'm afraid we're going to lose them all. We're getting back to our vessel as fast as we can, Roger assures him. They'll get help there. What kind of help? Roger couldn't say. 2 more do die before they get back to the Rotvine, and it is a solemn disembarkation as the dead are carried off. Roger heads to the cockpit to get an update from Brosen. From what I can tell, the fighting is over, he tells Roger. I see no more weapons fire. Have you heard from the captain? Roger asks as a light on the console flashes. Brosen picks up the headset. Yes, ma'am. Welcome back. He sets the headset down. That was the captain, requesting that the hold doors be opened. So that ends chapter 22. Chapter 23, called Twin Mysteries. Alright, so we only have 2 more chapters left in the book. So let me know how you like it. You can leave comments on the Fedora Fiction Press Facebook page. You can also like it and view it at YouTube. Go to the Thomas C. Goss channel or search Menace in the Goldilocks Zone, and actually all the chapters are available there. So once again, thank you for watching and listening. I guess I should add just a reminder that copies, either ebooks or paperbacks, are available at amazon.com/author/Tom Goss, all one word, Tomgoss. Thanks again.